The old ships drifted at the edge of space like broken dreams. Captain Zara Chun stared at them through the viewing window of her exploration ship, the Wanderer. The alien vessels looked strange and beautiful at the same time. They were made of what looked like crystal and metal mixed together. Some parts glowed with a soft blue light, while others seemed completely dark and dead. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "I'm getting signals from those ships. They're not like anything we've heard before." Zara moved to the communication station. The sounds coming through the speakers were not words or beeps. Instead, they sounded like music, soft tones that rose and fell like a sad song. Sometimes the tones would join together and create something that almost sounded like a voice calling for help. "How many ships?" Zara asked. 12 large vessels, Captain, and maybe 30 smaller ones. They all look damaged. Some are barely holding together." Zara had been exploring space for 15 years. She had seen many strange things, but nothing like this. The ships were clearly from an alien race that humans had never met before. And they were obviously in trouble. "Any response to our standard greeting signals?" she asked. "Nothing, Captain. But the musical sounds are getting stronger. Almost like they know we're here." Zara made her decision. "Take us closer, slowly, and keep scanning for weapons or threats." As the Wanderer moved toward the alien fleet, more details became clear. The ships were not just damaged, they were falling apart. Pieces of crystal and metal floated around them like a cloud of broken dreams. Some ships had huge holes in their sides. Others were missing entire sections. "Captain," the science officer reported, "I'm reading life signs. Lots of them. But the energy readings are very weak. Whatever these beings are, they're barely surviving." The musical sounds grew stronger as they got closer. Now Zara could hear patterns in the tones. They repeated certain combinations of notes. It almost sounded like someone trying to communicate. "Try responding with simple tones," Zara ordered. "Maybe they'll understand we want to talk." Our communications officer sent out a series of basic musical notes. The response was immediate. The alien music became faster and more excited. Then, suddenly, it changed to something that sounded very much like joy mixed with hope. "I think they understand we're friendly," the officer said with amazement. "Captain," the tactical officer called out, "we're getting a transmission from the Galactic Confederation. Ambassador Rextai wants to speak with you." Zara sighed. The Galactic Confederation was a group of powerful alien races that controlled most of known space. Humans were considered a minor species by them. Not weak, but not important either. "Put him through," she said. The view screen lit up with the image of Ambassador Rextai. He was a Zorthi, a race that looked like giant lizards with sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes. They were warriors who respected only strength and power. "Captain Chun," Rextai said in his harsh voice, "I see you have found the Kethver refugees. You will move away from them immediately." "Refugees?" Zara asked. "Who are they?" The Kethver were a small race from the outer spiral. Their star went unstable and destroyed their world. They have been begging for help from every civilized species in the galaxy. And? Rextai's expression showed disgust. "They are useless. They cannot fight. They cannot work in our industries. They are pacifists who spend their time making music and growing crystals. Every major power has refused to take them." Zara felt anger building in her chest. "So you're just going to let them die?" "That is not our concern," Rextai said coldly. "They offer nothing of value. I suggest you follow our example and move along. Do not waste human resources on these creatures." The transmission ended. Zara stared at the blank screen for a moment, then looked back at the alien ships. The musical signals were still coming through, weaker now, as if the beings inside were getting tired. "Captain," her science officer said quietly, "I've been analyzing their ships and the life signs. I think they're dying. Their ships are losing power, and they don't have much time left." Zara walked back to the viewing window. She could see small lights moving inside the crystal ships. Living beings who had lost their home and were now being rejected by everyone in the galaxy. She thought about Earth and humanity. Humans were not the strongest or the smartest race in the galaxy. They didn't have the best technology or the biggest armies. But they had something that seemed to be missing from the other races. They cared about others, even strangers. "Send a message to Earth Command," Zara ordered. "Full priority. Tell them we found refugees who need help. Tell them about the Kethver and what's happened to them." "Captain," her tactical officer said carefully, "the Confederation has made it clear these aliens are not wanted. If we help them, it might cause problems for Earth." Zara turned to look at her crew. They were all watching her, waiting for her decision. She could see in their faces that they were thinking the same thing she was. These beings needed help, and that was enough. "Send the message," she repeated, "and open a channel to the Kethver ships." The musical sounds filled the bridge again. Zara didn't know their language, but she understood the tone. These beings were afraid and desperate. They had been rejected by everyone they had asked for help. "This is Captain Zara Chun of the human ship Wanderer," she said into the communication system. "We hear your call for help. Please respond if you understand." The music stopped for a moment. Then it began again, but different. The tones were higher and seemed to dance with hope. Even though she couldn't understand the words, Zara knew what they were saying. They were saying thank you for not turning away. "Plot a course back to human space," Zara ordered, "and send a continuous signal to these ships. Let them know we're not abandoning them." As the Wanderer began to move, the Kethver ships slowly followed. Their crystal hulls caught the light from nearby stars and reflected it in beautiful patterns. It was like watching a wounded rainbow trying to find its way home. Zara didn't know what Earth would decide to do, but she knew what humanity should do. And for the first time in weeks, the musical signals from the Kethver ships sounded like songs of hope instead of songs of despair. The emergency session of the United Earth Council took place in Geneva at 3 in the morning. President Sarah Martinez had called together leaders from every nation on Earth after receiving Captain Chun's urgent message. The holographic display in the center of the room showed images of the Kethver refugee ships, floating like broken crystal birds in the darkness of space. 50,000 beings, said Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's chief xenobiologist. She had been studying the data Captain Chen sent for the past 6 hours. Their ships are failing. Life support systems are breaking down. Some vessels have already lost atmospheric pressure. Defense Minister James Park looked at the numbers on his tablet. "We have the largest merchant fleet in human space, but moving 50,000 aliens is beyond anything we've ever attempted. And we don't even know what they need to survive." "We know they're dying," President Martinez said simply. "That's enough." Ambassador Williams, Earth's representative to the Galactic Confederation, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Madam President, I must remind you that every major power in the galaxy has refused these refugees. The Zorathi Empire, the Trade Federation, even the peaceful Altari Republic. They all say the Kethver have nothing to offer. Since when do we help people because of what they can offer us?" Martinez asked. "Since when is that who we are?" Dr. Vasquez pulled up more data on the holographic display. "I've been analyzing their ship designs and the energy signatures Captain Chen recorded. These beings are completely different from any species we know. They seem to be partially crystalline in nature. Their communications are based on harmonic frequencies that they generate naturally. What does that mean for keeping them alive?" asked Minister Park. It means we need to learn everything about their biology, and fast, Dr. Vasquez replied. I need to get to those ships and start working with them directly. President Martinez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of Geneva sparkled in the early morning darkness. She thought about all the times in human history when refugees had needed help. Sometimes they were welcomed. Too often, they were turned away. What are our resources? She asked. Admiral Robert Torres, head of the Earth Space Force, activated his own display. We have 12 colony ships in the Sol system. They're designed to carry 10,000 people each to new worlds. We could convert them for alien life support, but it would take time. How much time? At least 6 weeks, maybe more. And that's if we push every shipyard to maximum capacity. Dr. Vasquez shook her head. According to Captain Chen's data, they don't have 6 weeks. Some of those ships will be completely dead within 2 weeks. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. They were talking about thousands of deaths while Earth tried to organize a rescue mission. Minister Park looked at his tablet again. The cost alone would be enormous. Converting ships, providing supplies, creating new life support systems for a completely unknown biology. We're talking about resources that could support human colonies for decades. James, President Martinez said quietly, what's the point of having resources if we don't use them to save lives? Chief Engineer Kao Tanaka, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up. There might be another way. Instead of converting existing ships, we could strip parts from everything in the system and build temporary life support modules. Faster than full conversion, and we could attach them directly to their existing ships. Would that work? Admiral Torres asked. Maybe, Tanaka said. We won't know until we try. But it's better than watching them die while we debate. Dr. Vasquez was already pulling up new data. I've been thinking about their harmonic communications. If they use sound and vibration as their primary sense, they might need specific acoustic environments to stay healthy. We can't just keep them alive. We need to keep them comfortable. How do we even talk to them? Ambassador Williams asked. We learn, Martinez said. Dr. Vasquez, I want you on the next ship to the refugee fleet. Take whoever you need. Figure out how to communicate and what they need to survive. Madam President, Williams said urgently, I must protest this decision. The political implications are severe. If we help these refugees against the wishes of the Galactic Confederation, it could damage our relationships with major powers. Martinez turned to face him. Thomas, let me ask you something. When people look back at this moment in 100 years, how do we want to be remembered? As the species that turned away from suffering because it might be politically inconvenient, or as the species that chose to help because it was right? But the resources, Minister Park began, will be replaced. Martinez cut him off. Ships can be rebuilt. Money can be earned again. But those 50,000 lives can't be brought back once they're gone. Admiral Torres activated his communicator. All stations, this is Admiral Torres. I want every available ship and crew prepared for immediate deployment. This is Operation Sanctuary. We're bringing 50,000 refugees home. Dr. Vasquez was already gathering her team. I'll need linguists, engineers, medical specialists, and cultural anthropologists. And I want Captain Chen's complete crew debriefed. They're the only humans who have had direct contact with the Kethver. What about the Galactic Confederation? Williams asked one more time. They will not approve of this. President Martinez smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Thomas, the Confederation judges species by their military power and economic value. They see the Kethver as worthless because they can't fight wars or build weapons. But maybe that's exactly why they're worth saving. Within hours, Earth's space industry transformed into a massive rescue operation. Shipyards that had been building peaceful exploration vessels started creating life support modules. Factories that made consumer goods switched to producing emergency supplies for unknown alien biology. Schools and universities organized crash courses in xenobiology and harmonic communication theory. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in years, the entire planet was united behind a single cause. Not a war, not a competition, but a rescue mission for beings they had never met. In space, Captain Chen watched as the first human supply ships arrived at the Refuge fleet. The HFY vessels had moved closer to human space, their crystal hulls dimming as their power failed. But their music had not stopped. If anything, the harmonic communications had become more complex, as if they were trying to tell their entire history in song. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "Earth Command says Dr. Vasquez will arrive in 6 hours. She's bringing teams to start direct communication attempts." Zara nodded, still watching the alien ships. She had made the call that started all of this. In a few hours, she would know if humanity could save 50,000 beings that the rest of the galaxy had thrown away. The musical signals from the HFY ships seemed to grow stronger as the human rescue fleet approached. Even without words, the meaning was clear. Hope was coming home. Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in zero gravity outside the largest HFY ship, wearing a special suit designed for first contact. Through her helmet, she could hear the musical communications that had puzzled humanity for weeks. But now, after days of study, the sounds were beginning to make sense. The HFY vessel looked like a giant crystal flower that had somehow learned to fly. Its walls were transparent in some places, showing internal structures that glowed with soft blue and green lights. Other sections were opaque, made of what appeared to be living crystal that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. "Dr. Vasquez," Captain Chun's voice came through her communicator. "The airlock is opening." Elena watched as a section of the crystal ship became transparent, then opened like petals of a flower. The atmosphere inside shimmered slightly, but her instruments showed it was safe for her modified breathing gear. She pushed herself gently through the opening and gasped at what she saw. The inside of the ship was like being inside a geode. Crystal formations covered every surface, but they weren't just decoration. They were alive, growing and changing color as she watched. Some crystals were clearly control panels, glowing with symbols that shifted and flowed. Others seemed to be living spaces, with soft surfaces that looked comfortable for beings very different from humans. A figure emerged from deeper in the ship. Elena's first sight of a living HFY took her breath away. The being was tall and thin, about 7 feet high, but it moved with an unusual flowing grace. Its skin appeared to be made of the same living crystal as the ship, shifting between blue and silver as it moved. Where humans had eyes, the HFY had complex crystal formations that seemed to focus and refocus like natural telescopes. "Hello," Elena said carefully, using the harmonic translator her team had built. The device converted her words into musical tones that matched the patterns they had. Observed. The HFY stopped moving for a moment. Then it began to create sounds unlike anything Elena had ever heard. Not just music, but layers of harmony that seemed to carry meaning in ways that went far beyond simple words. Her translator worked frantically, converting the complex sounds into text on her helmet display. "Welcome, warm sound maker. This small life greets the first not rejection singers. Are you the hope bringers from the third sun world?" Elena smiled, even though she wasn't sure the HFY could understand human expressions. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez from Earth. We want to help you. Will you come with us to safety?" The HFY's crystal features seemed to shift in what might have been surprise. "Help offer real truth? Not illusion song like the others who sang rejection pain?" "Real truth," Elena confirmed. We have prepared homes for you in our solar system. Safe places where you can heal and grow strong again. Over the following days, the most massive rescue operation in human history unfolded. The HFY ships, with their failing systems, were carefully guided to the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Human engineers had worked around the clock to convert the largest asteroids into habitable spaces for the crystalline beings. Elder Resonant Tisara, the spiritual leader of the HFY refugees, was the first to see their new home. The converted asteroid looked like a crystal garden floating in space. Humans had studied HFY ship designs and recreated the growing crystal environments that the aliens needed to survive. Clear domes contained crystal forests where the HFY could rest and heal. Harmonic chambers allowed them to communicate across vast distances. Mineral gardens provided the specific elements their bodies needed. This is more than survival space. Tisara sang through the translators to Ambassador Maria Santos, Earth's newly appointed liaison to the HFY refugees. This is home some possibility. Ambassador Santos had spent weeks learning basic HFY communication. She understood that their language was not just words, but emotions and concepts layered together in complex harmonies. We want you to be comfortable here. This is your home now, for as long as you need it. As weeks passed, something beautiful began to happen. The HFY, slowly recovering their strength, started to share their knowledge and culture with their human helpers. Dr. Vasquez discovered that HFY harmonic communication was not just language, it was also their science, their art, and their way of understanding the universe. Young Jake Morrison, a human shuttle pilot, became fascinated by the musical mathematics the HFY used. He spent hours listening to their harmonic calculations and slowly began to understand how they use sound to solve complex problems. The HFY were amazed that a human could learn their mathematical songs. Resonant Ethelani, a young HFY who had been born during the Exodus, formed an unlikely friendship with Jake. She was curious about human culture and asked endless questions about emotions, physical sensations, and the strange human habit of using individual words instead of harmonic concepts. How do you sing loneliness with just one word? She asked Jake one day as they floated together in one of the crystal gardens. Jake thought about it carefully. We don't sing our feelings the way you do. We feel them inside and then try to find words that match. But words are so limited. Ethelani harmonized, her crystal features shifting to show confusion. How can one small sound carry all the layers of loneliness, missing sadness, hope, memory that the feeling contains? I guess we just have to use lots of words, Jake laughed. Or we show our feelings through actions instead of sounds. Their conversations were recorded and studied by linguists from both species. For the first time, two completely different forms of consciousness were learning to understand each other. Meanwhile, the Galactic Confederation was watching with growing interest. Ambassador Rextai arrived at Earth with a small fleet, expecting to find chaos and failure. Instead, he found the HFY refugees not just surviving, but thriving in environments specifically designed for their needs. Impossible, he growled to Admiral Torres during an inspection tour. These creatures require complex harmonic environments and specific mineral compositions. How could primitive human technology provide this? Admiral Torres smiled. We listened to what they needed and then figured out how to provide it. Amazing what you can accomplish when you actually care about the people you're trying to help. Rextai examined the crystal gardens with obvious confusion. The Zorathi were warriors who conquered and dominated. The idea of spending massive resources to help another species with no obvious benefit in return was completely foreign to him. What do you gain from this? He asked bluntly. New friends, Torres replied simply. New knowledge. A chance to learn about a completely different way of seeing the universe. And the satisfaction of knowing we did the right thing. In the Crystal Gardens, Kethford children played among growing mineral formations, while human children watched in amazement. The refugee camps had become something nobody expected. A new kind of community where two species learn from each other every day. Dr. Vasquez published her first papers on Kethford biology and was amazed to discover that their crystalline nature allowed them to process information in ways that were completely different from carbon-based life. They could store memories in their crystal formations and share experiences directly through harmonic resonance. But the most surprising discovery came from Resonant Safani, a young Kethford who had been sick during the journey. As she recovered in the mineral gardens, the crystal formations around her began growing faster and stronger than anywhere else. Her harmonic abilities seemed to encourage growth and healing in both crystals and the few plants that humans had included in the habitat. She's not just communicating with the crystals, Dr. Vasquez explained to President Martinez during a status report. She's helping them grow. It's like her natural abilities can accelerate biological and geological processes. What does that mean? Martinez asked. It means, Dr. Vasquez said with excitement, that the Kethford might not be refugees forever. They might be partners in building something completely new. In the Crystal Gardens, as human and Kethford children learn to play together despite their completely different biologies, the future was beginning to sing with new possibilities. 1 year after the Kethford refugees arrived at Earth, something unexpected began happening in the asteroid belt. The Crystal Gardens were not just growing. They were evolving into something that neither humans nor Kethford had ever imagined possible. Dr. James Park, Earth's leading computer scientist, floated in the main research station watching Resonant Ethelani work with a quantum computer core. The young Kethford had discovered that her harmonic abilities could interface directly with quantum processing systems in ways that defied everything humans thought they knew about computing. The machine sings to her. Dr. Park whispered to his assistant, I've been working with quantum computers for 20 years, and I've never seen processing speeds like this. Thelani's crystal features glowed softly as she harmonized with the computer. Through the harmonic interface, she could process calculations that would normally take days in just minutes. But more than that, she seemed to understand the quantum states in an intuitive way that human scientists could only achieve through complex mathematics. Dr. Park, Ethelani sang through the translator. The thinking machine has patterns that match our crystal growth songs. They are similar, but not the same. Can you show me how humans teach machines to think? Dr. Park had been working on this project for months. The combination of human programming techniques and Kethford harmonic processing was creating computer systems that were far beyond anything either species could achieve alone. In another section of the asteroid belt, an even more remarkable discovery was taking place. Dr. Lisa Zhang, a botanist who had volunteered to help create food production systems for the refugees, was working with Resonant Safani in the experimental agriculture domes. This should be impossible, Dr. Zhang muttered, looking at her readings for the third time. Plants don't grow this fast. Not without genetic modification. Safani was harmonizing softly near a group of wheat plants that had grown to full maturity in just 2 weeks, instead of the normal 3 months. Her harmonic abilities seemed to accelerate plant growth in ways that completely violated known biological laws. The green-growing lives have song patterns too, Safani explained through her translator. When I sing their growth songs with them, they become stronger and faster. Is this not normal for warm life worlds? Dr. Zhang shook her head in amazement. No, it's not normal at all. It's miraculous. Do you realize what this means? We could feed entire planets with this technique. Meanwhile, in the Deep Space Monitoring Station, Something was happening that would change everything. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was working the night shift when she noticed unusual readings from the long-range sensors. "That's weird," she said to herself, checking the instruments again. The sensors were picking up disturbance patterns that shouldn't be detectable with human technology. But the readings were coming from the HFY harmonic arrays that had been integrated into the station's sensor network. She called Elder Resonant Tissera, who had become the unofficial ambassador between the HFY and human scientists. "Elder Tissera," Sarah said when the connection was established, "our sensors are picking up patterns that don't match anything in our databases. The readings are coming from your harmonic equipment." Tissera's crystal features shifted in what humans had learned to recognize as concern. "What kind of patterns, young Star Watcher?" Sarah sent the data to Tissera's display. "Long-range subspace disturbances. Our equipment can't usually detect anything this far out." There was a long pause. When Tissera responded, her harmonic song carried tones of deep worry. "These are the warning songs of dying stars. The same patterns we heard before our home sun became dangerous. But these songs come from very far away." "How far?" "Many light cycles. Perhaps where the hard-shell warriors make their home songs." Sarah realized what this meant. The Zorthi Empire was facing the same stellar phenomenon that had destroyed the HFY homeworld. But they didn't know it yet, because their sensors couldn't detect the early warning signs. Within hours, this information reached the highest levels of both human and HFY leadership. President Martinez called an emergency meeting with Admiral Torres and Dr. Vasquez. "Are we certain about this?" Martinez asked. Dr. Vasquez nodded. "The HFY harmonic sensors can detect subspace patterns that our technology misses completely. If they're right about what these patterns mean, the Zorthi Empire has maybe 6 months before their primary systems start experiencing stellar instabilities." Admiral Torres looked at the star charts. "The Zorthi control 15 major systems and dozens of colony worlds. We're talking about billions of lives. And they still refuse to believe the HFY have anything valuable to offer," Martinez said grimly. At that moment, Ambassador Vrextai was requesting an urgent meeting with Earth's leadership. He had been monitoring the unusual activity in human space and was growing suspicious about the technological advances he was observing. The meeting took place in orbit around Earth, aboard the space station that had become the unofficial embassy for galactic relations. Vrextai arrived with a small fleet, as Zorthi always did, to demonstrate their military strength. "Captain Chun," Vrextai growled as he was escorted to the meeting room, "I have been watching your operations with the HFY refugees. Your technology has advanced significantly in just 1 year. This is not normal for your species." Zara, now promoted to Admiral, smiled diplomatically. "We've been learning from our guests. Amazing what cooperation can accomplish." "Cooperation?" Vrextai repeated the word like it tasted bad. "You have turned useful resources into support for useless refugees. This makes no sense." President Martinez entered the room with Elder Tissera and Dr. Vasquez. Vrextai stared at the crystalline being with obvious distaste. "Ambassador," Martinez said formally, "we need to discuss a matter of galactic security. I am here to discuss why you waste resources on these creatures." Vrextai replied. Dr. Vasquez activated a holographic display showing the sensor readings from the HFY harmonic arrays. These readings indicate that stellar phenomena similar to what destroyed the HFY homeworld are approaching Zorthi space. Your empire has approximately 6 months to begin evacuation procedures. Vrextai looked at the data with confusion. "Our sensors show no such patterns. These readings are impossible." Elder Tissera began to harmonize, her crystal features glowing softly. The harmonic translator converted her song into words that filled the room. The death songs of stars carry far harmonics that hard technology cannot hear. But crystal singers can detect the warning songs many light cycles before the danger arrives. This is how my people knew to flee, though we waited too long to save our world. You expect me to believe that these refugees can detect threats that Zorathi military science cannot? Rekstai's voice carried the growl of insult. Admiral Chun stepped forward. Ambassador, we're offering to share this technology with you. Our joint research with the Kethver has produced sensor arrays that can detect subspace disturbances far beyond normal range. If these readings are correct, your people need this information. Rekstai stared at the data for a long time. The proud warrior was clearly struggling with the idea that the refugees he had dismissed as worthless might be offering to save his people. What do you want in return? He finally asked. Nothing, President Martinez said simply. We want your people to be safe. That's all. That is impossible. No species offers aid without payment or advantage. Elder Tizara harmonized again, her song carrying complex emotional layers. The warm life singers offered us home songs when all others sang rejection. They asked for nothing but the chance to help. Perhaps this is what strength truly sounds like. Rekstai left the meeting without giving an answer, but he took copies of all the sensor data. 3 days later, Zorathi deep space monitors confirmed the harmonic readings. The stellar phenomenon was real, and it was heading for their territory. For the first time in galactic history, a minor species and a group of refugees had information that could save one of the most powerful empires in known space thought in the Crystal Gardens. Human and Kethver children continued to play together, unaware that their friendship was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 3 years after the Kethver refugees first arrived at Earth, the galaxy was learning a hard lesson about the cost of rejection. Admiral Zara Chun stood on the bridge of the newest ship in Earth's fleet, the Harmony. The vessel was unlike anything ever built before, part human engineering, part Kethver crystal technology. Its hull sparkled with living crystal formations that could detect subspace disturbances across impossible distances. Inside, harmonic chambers allowed instant communication with Kethver crystal gardens throughout human space. The Admiral, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, reported from the communication station. We're receiving distress signals from 17 different systems. The stellar phenomenon is spreading faster than anyone predicted. Through the viewing window, Chun could see the massive fleet that had assembled in Earth orbit. Ships from dozens of species floated in formations that would have been impossible just months ago. Zorathi warships, their hulls modified with Kethver harmonic sensors. Altari medical vessels equipped with human-designed emergency systems. Trade Federation cargo ships, carrying supplies and refugees from threatened worlds. The irony was not lost on anyone. The same Galactic Confederation that had rejected the Kethver refugees was now depending on Kethver technology and human compassion to save their civilizations. Status report from the rescue operations. Chum requested Dr. Elena Vasquez, now Admiral Vasquez in charge of all xenobiological operations, appeared on the communication screen from her flagship. We've successfully evacuated 4 systems so far, Admiral. The joint human Kethver sensor arrays are giving us enough warning time to get people out before the stellar instabilities become critical. Casualties? Surprisingly low. The early warning systems are working better than we hoped. But Admiral, Vasquez paused. We're getting reports that the phenomenon is accelerating. It's not just affecting individual stars anymore. It's destabilizing entire sectors. In the crystal gardens of the asteroid belt, Elder Resonant Tissara was working with a team of both human and alien scientists. The Kethver Elder had become the unofficial leader of the galactic response to the crisis. Her harmonic abilities, crucial for coordinating efforts across vast distances. The death songs grow stronger. She harmonized to the assembled team through the universal translators that human Kethver cooperation had perfected. But there are also new harmonics in the pattern. The star death sickness is learning, growing more complex. Dr. James Park, now leading the combined quantum computing project, studied the data streaming in from sensors throughout the galaxy. Elder Tessara is right. The phenomenon isn't just a natural disaster anymore. It's showing signs of intelligent adaptation. What does that mean? Asked Ambassador Maria Santos, who had become Earth's primary liaison with the Galactic Council. It means, Park said grimly, that we're not just fighting dying stars. We're fighting something that can think and adapt to our countermeasures. The discovery changed everything. What had seemed like a natural cosmic disaster was revealed to be something far more dangerous. An intelligence that fed on stellar energy and grew stronger with each star it consumed. Ambassador Rextai, once proud and dismissive, now found himself working closely with the beings he had once considered worthless. His massive warship, the Dominator, had been retrofitted with Kethver harmonic equipment and human-design coordination systems. "This is impossible," he growled during a strategy meeting. The Zorathi Empire has fought countless wars, but how do you wage battle against something that lives in the hearts of stars? Resonant Athelani, now grown to full adulthood and serving as a bridge between species, harmonized her response carefully. Perhaps the question is not how to fight, but how to heal. Our songs speak of harmony, not destruction. What if this Star Eater exists because the galaxy's harmony has been broken? Harmony? Rextai's laugh was bitter. The galaxy has never known harmony. We have always conquered or been conquered. Exactly, said President Martinez, participating in the meeting from Earth. For thousands of years, galactic civilization has been based on dominance and rejection. Powerful species exploit weaker ones. Refugees are turned away. Differences are seen as threats instead of strengths. Elder Tessara began to sing a complex harmony that the translators struggled to convert into words. The Star Eater grows strong on isolation pain and rejection suffering. It feeds on the discord between peoples. But when different songs join together in harmony, when warm life singers and crystal singers work as one, the Star Eater's song becomes weaker. The proof came during the evacuation of the Altari system. The peaceful Altari, known for their diplomatic skills, had welcomed Kethver refugees when other species would not. When the stellar phenomenon reached their territory, something unexpected happened. The joint human Kethver Altari rescue fleet, working in perfect coordination, managed not just to evacuate the threatened worlds, but to actually stabilize the dying star. The harmonic resonance generated by three different species working together somehow counteracted the destructive force. "It's working," Dr. Vasquez reported with excitement. "The star is returning to normal parameters. Whatever this intelligence is, it can't maintain its hold when multiple species cooperate harmoniously." Word spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Species that had spent millennia competing and fighting began forming unprecedented alliances. The Trade Federation shared resources freely for the first time in their history. Zorathi warriors learned to protect instead of conquer. Even the most isolated species began reaching out for help and offering aid to others. But the greatest symbol of change was taking place in Earth's solar system. The asteroid belt had been transformed into a vast city of crystal and metal, where beings from dozens of species lived and worked together. Children of different races played in the same gardens. Scientists from rival civilizations collaborated on projects that would have been unimaginable before the crisis. Resonant Zefani, now a leader in agricultural development, worked with farmers from 12 different worlds to develop food production systems that could work on any planet. Her harmonic abilities, combined with human ingenuity and alien knowledge, had revolutionized how civilizations could sustain themselves. Jake Morrison, now an ambassador himself, often walked through the Crystal Gardens with his old friend Ethelani, watching the children play. Human kids learning harmonic songs from Kethver youth. Zorathi children, their natural aggression softened by Kethver harmony teachings, learning to build instead of destroy. Do you think we've really changed anything? Jake asked one day as they watched a group of mixed species, children working together on a science project. Ethelani's crystal features shifted in what had become her characteristic expression of deep thought. The Star Eater still exists, Jake friend, but its song grows weaker every day as more species learn to harmonize together. Perhaps change is not a single moment, but a continuous choice. The final test came when the phenomenon reached Earth's solar system. Every species in the galaxy held its breath as the combined fleet prepared to face the intelligence at the heart of the stellar destruction. But instead of weapons and warfare, they brought something the universe had never seen before: perfect cooperation. Hundreds of ships, each representing different species and technologies, formed a harmonic array around Earth's sun. Kethver crystal singers provided the bass harmony. Human engineers coordinated the technical aspects. Zorathi's strength maintained the formation. Altari diplomats kept the alliance stable. Trade Federation logistics kept everyone supplied. As the Star Eater approached, expecting to find the usual chaos and competition that fed its power, it instead encountered something that made it pause. The harmony generated by the combined fleet was so complete, so perfect, that it created a resonance the intelligence had never experienced before. Elder Tessera, now ancient but still strong, led the harmonic response. Her song was joined by thousands of voices from dozens of species, creating a symphony that reached across space itself. The Star Eater, faced with unity instead of division, cooperation instead of competition, began to change. Its destructive hunger transformed into something else, a desire to create rather than consume, the dying intelligence that had fed on stellar destruction. For eons discovered what it was like to be part of a harmony instead of a force of chaos. Slowly, it began to heal the damage it had caused, returning energy to the stars it had drained. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the harmony, watching displays that showed stabilized systems throughout the galaxy. Final report, all stations. All systems green, Admiral, Jake Morrison reported. The phenomenon has ceased. Stars throughout the affected regions are returning to normal parameters. Refuge operations? Complete, Dr. Vasquez responded. Every displaced population has been relocated. And Admiral, they're not refugees anymore. They're citizens of their new homes. Chun smiled, thinking about the long journey that had brought them to this moment. It had started with 50,000 Kethver refugees that nobody wanted. It had ended with a galaxy learning that its strength came not from the power of individual species, but from their willingness to help each other reach for the stars. In the Crystal Gardens, Elder Tessera harmonized one final song, not of loss or exile, but of home found and family chosen.